Hey guys, it's Heidi. Welcome back to my channel. And yeah, my last night house sitting for my friend. Tomorrow I pack up and get my car ready, put it back into camper mode, and yeah, and then I shall be off in a few days. Um, yeah, I've just been sitting. It's now the month of May. Um, I've just been sitting here thinking about my mom. Um, Her birthday and Mother's Day this year happened to be on the same day. And um, yeah, the 11th of May. And I was just thinking, I always used to moan that she used to be taking way too many tablets. She pretty much lived on painkillers. And then I thought about when she fell and she actually broke her hip. Um, yeah. And I was thinking, when did she start to deteriorate? Sorry, let me just turn you a little bit. When did my mother start to deteriorate? Um, because she was moving around in the wheelchair, yes, because it was very painful for her to walk. Where am I? No, I'm looking this side, sorry. Yeah, it was very painful for her to walk around. So she was moving around in the wheelchair, but she was standing up and she was doing stuff. She started to deteriorate when the doctor told her not to put any weight. I don't know if it was a doctor, I think the doctor and also the physiotherapist told her not to put any weight on that leg. I'm just sitting thinking here, if she just carried on the way she was, she would have been okay. Her hip would have grown back, you know, knitted back together as well as possible, and stuff like that. Then I was thinking, why did my mother drink so many tablets? Why was she, yeah, why was she taking so many painkillers? Um, I was watching her one day, and I mean, she was taking especially in the afternoon, and she would be taking like, I don't know, four, five, six tablets that I knew of. How many others didn't she take that I did not know of? And I was thinking, why did she take so many? Why was she always taking, what's her name? And then I was sitting thinking here about this lot and thinking about myself because I am anti tablet. Yeah. You bring medication to me, I run in the opposite direction. That's just who I am. Yeah, I take Panados or Disprin. Mm. If my blood pressure goes up, I just take two Disprins and brings it down. And if I go where I'm sleeping in the same room as other people, especially like on mission trips, and I don't want to hear the person snoring next to me, then I drink half an Acadol. That knocks me out for 6 hours. I have a very nice sleep for 6 hours. Um, yeah, but I injured my back not so long ago, and the muscles, is the actual muscle, and also yeah, a few months back when I jumped off the wall like an idiot. What were you thinking, Heidi? Go and jump off a wall. You think he's still a spring chicken. Yeah, right. Anyway, so that was painful when I pinched the nerve. It was very painful. And yeah, there was Brufen. I'll take that, ibuprofen, and it sorts it out. Or that's what they gave me at the clinic. And it sorted it out. But it just takes the pain away. It doesn't fix a problem. And, with mom having osteoporosis and with her hip and what have you, and everything else, she was taking those painkillers just to get rid of the pain that she could carry on, that she could carry on moving around, that she could do her stuff. That is why she was taking so many painkillers. And here I was moaning at her and saying, "No, why are you drinking so many painkillers?" And yeah, this is the one cat I'm looking after. Hey, pretty cat. Come say hello. Oh, yeah, this is the one pretty cat. See? Doesn't like to be picked up. Anyway, um, yeah, and the other cat is probably laying on the bed. It's a big fat cat. And then there's a goldfish I'm also looking after. Um, yeah, so that's, yeah. So now I know. Now I know. Why do we always jump to conclusions? Why didn't I think about this when mom was still alive, that I could actually help her? And not just keep moaning, "Why are you taking so many tablets?" I understand that you got to take your medication, like blood pressure meds and your chronic meds, asthma or whatever. That's, I get, I understand that. But I could never understand why my mother was taking so many things, painkillers, and it was just to get rid of the pain that she could carry on. That she could carry on because mom was one of those people that she used to get so irritated if you didn't do something properly. I mean, we had maids working for us many a time. And mom used to get so mad because they wouldn't clean properly, and then she'd just go and clean up after them. And I kind of looked at her one day. I said, "Ma, you're paying them to clean their house. They got to clean their house. Because why you come clean it after?" She says, "Well, they haven't cleaned properly." I said, "Well, then get rid of the person and then get another one." Anyway, but she did have two maids that worked for us, Mavis and Katie. Now, I didn't know Katie that well because I only saw her during the holidays. Mavis was my nanny. She was a Zulu girl. And when my sister was born, my mom, I was still drinking on my mom when my sister was born. And of course, when my sister was born, I was already 3 years old. And I was still drinking on my mother. And my mom said, no, my sister's got to now drink because she needs to grow as well. So I was a little bit upset about this. and I went outside to go and play or something. I don't know what. And yeah, Mavis, now, those of you that know the Zulu tradition and the Zulu culture, they don't wear the ladies. They don't wear tops. Well, maybe in winter, and maybe now they do. But in their culture and what they do, they only wear skirts, no tops. They wear beads. They've got lots of beads that they wear. And of course, I walked out by the kitchen, and yeah, she was sitting. Mavis was sitting on the step feeding her little baby because her baby and my sister were a few months. There's only a few months difference in their age, and I looked at this tiny little baby, and I looked at Mavis, and I looked at these two huge big boobs, and I thought, you know what? That's one tiny baby. She doesn't need to drink all that milk. So I sat on Mavis's lap and I started drinking from her. Yeah, she laughed, and my mom was not impressed. My mother was not impressed, but Mavis thought it was the funniest thing out. So yeah. Yeah, but to think what my mom went through, what she had to put up with. My father didn't treat her very well. Um, yeah, my dad, being my dad, he could be as good as gold, and he was a lay preacher to the Indians for a time. And, he'd go and preach on a Sunday to them and be very nice to everybody else. And the moment he came home, he used to beat the living daylights out of my mom. Anyway, my mom actually got upset one day, and she grabbed hold of his Bible and threw it in the. I don't know if she threw it into the fire, into the auger stove, or the trash can. I don't know. And she said to him, she said, you go there, you preach to these people. You can be as good as gold to everybody else, and you come home and you behave like a devil. What's up with that? And then, of course, everything else that mom went through as well. And I sometimes wonder how much my mother sacrificed for us. How many times did she go without food in order to feed us kids? And we don't even know about it. How many nights didn't she sit up? And I remember her sewing late in the night, making clothes for us. That I do remember her doing. And also when she wasn't cooking or she wasn't sewing or anything like that, she had her knitting needles and she loved her knitting. And she would knit and knit and knit and knit jerseys for everybody. Yeah, and then she'd eventually knit herself something as well, but she'd always see to the family first. Mom and we didn't have the best relationship. We really didn't. Things happened. Horrible things happened. And, we were just. I was convinced my mother hated me from birth. I was convinced of that fact. And, yeah. There's things that we went through, and I sometimes wonder why she actually agreed to actually ask me the things that she did ask me. Why would she agree to something like it? Was she scared that my stepdad was going to leave her? It's a possibility. These are things I wish I'd actually sat down and had the guts and spoken to my mom about and asked her why. But yeah, I never. I just thought, you know, it's water under the bridge. Let it go. But in any case, I'm just glad that God gave me the opportunity to actually meet a woman I never knew existed. After my stepdad died, it was hard. It was very hard. I knew exactly what my mother was going through because I had gone through it 3, 4 years prior. That my stepdad died in 2019, November 2019, and my husband had died in March 2016. So a few years prior to my stepdad dying, I'd already been through that. And yeah, after my stepdad died, my mom didn't want to carry on living. She wanted to give up. And I said to her, I said, Mom, you got to hold on. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be hard. But you need to hold on. And yeah, and she said, yeah, no, but you know, what's the point in living in? Why carry on? What's the point? And I looked at her and I thought, this coming from a woman that had told me in 2016 when my husband had died, get over it. Man, get over it. Get on with life. You'll meet other people. And I just looked at her and I thought, now you know. Anyway, God gave me the grace to look past that and just to help her to get through her grieving moments. And yeah, she fell off the wagon. She started looking for attention elsewhere. And of course, you guys know the moment people find out you're a widow, then you have all the creepy crawlies coming out of the woodworks, declaring their undying love, and my babe this and my babe that, and my sweetheart, I want to marry you and I love you, and you haven't even set eyes on the person. And my mother was hook, line, and sinker. Oh, man. Anyway, she got very angry with me because I told her who these people were. And she said, man, you don't want me to be happy. Anyway, when she eventually found out, you know, I thought, okay, now you know. Now you know. She also got very angry with my pastor. Anyway, I hope she apologized. She said she did. So I hope she did. Yeah. Just thinking of the things that my mom went through. And her birthday is coming up now on the 11th. Happy birthday, Mother. Anyway, guys, I need to clean up here. I cannot leave this place in a mess. Yeah. Okay, guys, lots and lots of love. Bye.